Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I make bulk tumbler orders or prepare a lot of tumblers for a tumbler drop. We'll talk a bit more about the ordering and discussing things with your customer, as well as what design to choose if you're making a bulk amount of tumblers for an event or a tumbler drop. Here in just a bit, I wanted to show you all of the beautiful paint colors I used for the base of these wine tumblers. Our wine tumblers are from the Steel Magnolia, and we are going to use the Crystalac glitter glue for application of our glitter on all four of these. Also, I'm sorry if my voice is going up and down or crackly. I'm not feeling very well, but we're trying to get through this tutorial. Our main gold glitter is Whimsical from PDB Creative Studio, and then we're going to use some glitters from my latest glitter pack collaboration with PDB Creative Studio. The first one will be Juniper. We're also using Honeysuckle, Wildflower, and Monarch. There is a fifth one that come in this bundle, which is Junebug, but we will not be using that one for these tumblers. Alright, so let's talk about bulk orders from a customer. This does not apply to someone that orders 6 different tumblers for her spouse, and 4 kids. Those are going to be all complete different designs. So this applies to someone ordering, honestly, more than one tumbler for any special event like a party, wedding, workplace. The biggest thing that you want to discuss with them, of course, is design. So as far as design goes, if they want all of the same design, that's awesome. But in this case, I wanted to make these slightly different, but also keep them very similar so that I can work on them all at the same time in the mass amount. You can think of it as sort of like a production line. You don't want to just start one of them by itself. One, if they are all similar, you want to have them side by side as you're working on them so that you can make sure that all of those elements that you add onto one is going to look the same on the rest. There's going to be a little differences, of course, because these are handmade, but keeping them all together is really going to help save you some time and allow you to get them as similar as possible. So the very first thing that I did was prep all of my tumblers at the same time. And then I spray painted all of them at the same time. I picked a common color for part of our ombre, which is Whimsical. And if you are using glitter like me, my suggestion for your glitter application would either be a regular setting epoxy, so that you can apply that very thin layer of epoxy to all of the tumblers and have a longer work time to get your glitter on there, or just use a glitter glue like me, so you can have that ready to go for each tumbler that you're working on. I usually roll up all of my tumblers in a sheet of notebook paper or parchment paper, but in this case, since these are tapered, I'm just going to take my hand and dab it all over the tumbler to flatten out that glitter so we can minimize the amount of layers of epoxy or thickness of our epoxy and sanding that we have to do to get these smooth for our decals. So we've talked about the difference between someone ordering a bunch of different designs and then ordering a bulk order with similar design. So as far as that similar design goes, something you might want to ask them is, can we do all of these the same color with the same decal, or do these need to be slightly different? And if they want things to be different, the best thing to do is suggest that the base color be switched up and all other elements the same. I wanted to use the glitters from my glitter pack with PDB Creative Studio because I'm just obsessed. However, the easiest way to switch up your colors on your tumblers and use the same glitter is to use an opal that you can see through, so it allows that color to pop through the glitter. Some of my favorites from PDB Creative Studio is Firefly, which has a gold shift to it. Candelabra is actually a rainbow of colors, which would have been perfect for these. And then Alter Ego, which I feel has a little bit of a purpley pink shift. I use that one quite often as well. So once I have applied all of my glitter, I'm going to allow these to dry for a couple of hours, and then I'm going to take each of these outside at the same time and do 2 coats of Rust-Oleum matte clear coat so that we can seal all these glitters in. After our spray paint has dried, I'm going to epoxy all of these at the same time. Now, as far as epoxy goes, if I have a raw glitter tumbler or multiple raw glitter tumblers, I do not epoxy more than 2 at the same time. Reason for this is because it's going to take you a little bit more time to go over that raw glitter than it would a smoother tumbler. Your epoxy is going to set up quickly on you, so you only want to do 2 tumblers at a time if you're using a fast set to avoid that epoxy setting up too quickly and you having to torch a little bit too much, which actually can have a reverse effect on those micro bubbles if your epoxy has begun to set up. So I would either use my Artistry fast set and just mix up 2 separate batches at 2 different times, or B, use an epoxy that has a longer cure time, so it gives you a longer work time and you can mix up larger batches. My favorite for that is my original A Little Extra epoxy. Some of you have been with me from the beginning and know that I have used A Little Extra ink epoxy for a long time. That was my original, and I was with them since they opened the doors of that business. It's actually one of the fastest setting regular epoxies that I have used. Not fast set, regular epoxy, so you still get that really long work time, but it also cures a lot quicker than some of the, or in comparison to some of the other epoxies that I have tried. So I mixed my epoxy for all 4 of these tumblers, epoxied them all at the same time with ALE. Once that was dry, I sanded all of these together, and then we went in with another coat of epoxy to get them smooth for our decals. The decals we'll be using is from GRACEFULLYCreatedCCD.com. I will have them linked below, as well as a discount code for you. But again, we are using all of the same decals for these tumblers, so we can keep that design consistency. I searched through all of my white element sheets, and these just absolutely match these tumblers perfect. Plus, you can get quite a few tumblers out of each sheet. So I did go ahead and do our blue and yellow, and I'm going to show you how I just put them side by side and apply all the remaining decals on our orange and pink. There are some tiny elements that will be different from tumbler to tumbler, but all of those main and larger decals are going to remain consistent and the same. These tumblers are curved or tapered at the bottom, so I do have to take a little bit of time and work my decals on here so they can be flat. If you have a curved surface you're working with, you can still add your decals on there. It just takes a little bit more time, patience, and sometimes you do have to trim a little bit, as I'm doing here. So if you are in this situation, just apply your decal, flatten it out on all of the flat surfaces as I did up towards the top, and then work your way very slowly out from the center of that decal, working those creases out. If you still have any creases, you can either trim out around each element and remove that clear surrounding vinyl so they can overlap without the clear overlapping. You can also take your heat gun and heat it up just a bit and really press down on those creases, and it will help work them out since it sort of stretches and shrinks the vinyl in some areas, and it helps you get that stuck down to the surface. Now, if you are trying to prepare for an event in which you need multiple tumblers, of course, make a couple up that are different designs. But if you have a tumbler that has consistently been a popular design, or anything that you have in your shop that has been a consistently popular design, take that design and just do it in multiple colors and make multiple of that specific design up at the same time. You already know that it's a bestseller for you, so why not create multiple of that same design in different colors so that it's easier for you to produce multiple of them at the same time, and it's a guaranteed sale. We will be adding on some of the smaller elements to these later on. I just wanted to get on our main decals or our logo before we use any of those small elements. I use the Buttercraft printable vinyl like it's going out of style. And that has been the best that I have tried so far up until this point, because guess what? TECKWRAPCRAFT now has their own printable vinyl. They also have laminate sheets, so you can apply it on top of your printed vinyl and make your own stickers and decals, as well as printable matte holographic. And I'm so excited about this. TECKWRAPCRAFT has been my favorite vinyl for so long now, and they are awesome people to work with, super nice. And when I found out, or when they reached out to me and said that they had a printable vinyl coming out, I was like, man, this is going to be gold, because I mean, all of their other vinyl is, right? So of course we are going to use this for the first time to test out that matte printable vinyl and see how well it does for these tumblers. And y'all, look at how saturated those colors look and smooth that this is peeling off of the back. Just look at that. It makes me so happy. Okay, so not only did it cut incredible, it weeded amazingly, and it also zero dust. Zero. And if you have used any other matte printable vinyl, that I have suggested in the past, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's almost like a powdery dust on top of your vinyl once you cut it, and you have to dust all of that off, or it's of course going to get stuck under your epoxy and affect your design. Had none of that. It was super smooth, and it's been forever and a day since I switched out the blade on my machine, and it still cut wonderfully. I did not test out putting a transfer tape on top of the vinyl. We're going to do as we usually do, apply our offset, which is the metallic textured Teckwrapcraft gold. And then we're going to hand place our matte printable vinyl. I will test that out whenever I'm not afraid of messing up a design. So I do plan on doing a tutorial on how to make your own decals and stickers to include in your orders for your business using the materials that they sent me. And I will give you a review on how this works with transfer tape then. But for now, let's just pull it off of the backing, and as you can see, all of those negative spaces stuck to the backing and my decal pulled off just so smooth. Teckwrapcraft, you have made this girl super happy. So once I lined that up with my offset, again, I just hand placed this. I worked it out from the middle to the edges so that I can eliminate any bubbles that might go underneath my vinyl. This vinyl is also super sticky, so in no case or in no areas did it lift and I have to press it down or get any lumps and bumps underneath it like I've had problems with before. Once I added on all of my decals at the same time, then we went back and added in those small elements. Again, I did try to keep these as consistent as possible, but between the two sheets that I had of these decals, we did have some differences, but it was with the small elements versus the large decals. I gave that printable vinyl decal a clear coat of matte Rust-Oleum clear, and we were ready for our final coats of epoxy. Again, we're doing all of this together. I'm going to apply a layer of epoxy to all 4 of these tumblers at the same time. Allow that to cure. We're going to lightly sand the bottom rim and the top rim, and just lightly throughout the tumbler, and then add on all of our final coats together. Since we are adding epoxy to a smoother surface, and it's going to take less epoxy and less time to get a coat on each of these, I did switch over to my ARTISTRY fast set, and we're going to use the a little extra incorporated regular epoxy for our second of final coats. I hope that this has been a little helpful. as far as making multiple tumblers of similar design at the same time. The key is just consistency. Spray paint them all together, glitter them all together, do all of your epoxy layers and decals all at the same time as the other, and it will really help save you some time. Even if you have one that gives you a little bit of trouble and you maybe have to start that over, sit those others to the side, catch that one up to the current state of the rest of your tumblers, and then proceed with doing things all at the same time. I hope that y'all have enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below and I'll answer them as quickly as possible. All materials I have used will be listed in the description with some discount codes for you. Don't forget to give this tutorial a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. That is all for today. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time.